laser gloves, throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed the nose. Oh, God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream to get into the career of Jay Bruce.
All right. I am producing and doing all this on my own, so I know you're probably wondering right now what the hell is going on, and I'm going to tell you what's going on. What's going on is a door in the middle of the camera. That is what's going on right now. But I'm at the studio, which means one thing. Hell's freezing over. I would have liked to be home, but I'm not. The Reds just pissed one away because Luke Weaver threw a gem. I mean, how many times have we asked for a starter this year to go 7 innings? Just go 7 innings. 6 1/3. 6 1/3. Just give me more than 5 innings of baseball. And not only did he give us more than 5 innings of baseball, he then turned around and he threw shutout baseball. You know, I got a whole bunch of things going on. You can see on the J bar. It's just, it's a mess. It's a mess, right? Just got off of a work meeting, rushed in here. The pitch clock was absolutely doing its job today, and I wasn't because I assumed this game was going to be over at like 3:25, 3:30. No, it's ending at 3:10. Trying to pull the chat up now. Let's see what we got in here. I'm sure that I'm getting absolutely roasted. Somewhat am, somewhat not. What do we want to talk about? I mean, the fact of the matter is that everyone's complaining about the base running, all right? And I get that. I understand. I understand why people are complaining about the base running. My only thing about the base running is this. The first inning, you got to find a way to score. Jonathan India, bouncing ball. He made a decision right when the ball was hit. So I can't really fault him for that. I know people want to crush Jonathan India for that. But am I being soft by saying that wasn't a bad play? I don't think it was that bad of a play. What was a worse play than that was TJ Friedel being at third base and India hitting that ground ball directly to the third baseman. And this is a situation where sometimes in baseball, there's this groupthink mentality, and for whatever reason, I don't know exactly what that mentality is or why it's that way. But it's this thing in the major leagues where they almost always go on contact at third base. I don't understand why. Don't ask me why. I'm actually a contact kind of guy when it makes sense. If there was a guy on second base there, behind him, and on third, instead we were split, right? There's a guy on first and third in that situation. You got to force the third baseman to throw the ball to second base to try to force a double play. And if he throws to second, then you sprint home. And if they throw you out at home after they throw the ball to second, then so be it. I can live with that. What I can't live with is taking off for home as soon as the ball is put in play. So you have two situations in this game where you're trying to take the lead for the first time. There's momentum at play. You know what this reminds me of? And I hate to bring this up because it's a sore subject. But it reminds me of the Brave series when we got swept, or whatever the term you want to use, in the playoffs. We can't score a run. You get the bases loaded in the first inning and you can't score. Today felt like that. What is up with David Bell teams where we're in a lucrative position to score at the beginning of the game, and if we don't score, then we don't score the rest of the game. That has nothing to do with David Bell, but I wanted to bring him up earlier in the show because you know what? Today's lineup, really quickly, not to jump all over the place, I actually felt like looked decent when I first saw it, and it was decent. It didn't work out, though. Not all right decisions work out. But your overall thoughts, chat. Do you think that Jonathan India, one, made a bad decision, bad play? I don't think that you can put that on him because as soon as the ball was put in play, he had to make a decision, right? He had to make a decision. I'm reading some things in the chat. I don't know if I agree with all of them. Friedel's the one that pisses me off the most because you can score from third base. I feel like 9 different ways that you can't score from second base. And I like aggressive baseball, but I don't like stupidity, you know? It's like the ball was hit directly to the third baseman. You're going to be out 99 out of 100 times in that situation. So then you're left with guys on first and second. The double play is still in order. And a fly ball doesn't score him. So what happens? Oddly enough, Friedel gets thrown out at home. You turn right around. There's a fly ball to left field. Should have scored him. That makes it what could have been a 2-0 game. There's a lot to go around, though. Listen, in a game like this where you start to pick and prod about base running, which it does make a difference, but you got to also say that we could probably just get a hit in that situation and not have to worry about it. But in games like today, it did feel like the first team that scored was going to win. It felt like there wasn't going to be that many runs, period. Brian put in the chat, Trace 2-1 score, not that it matters. I'm not sure what that means, Brian, if you want to elaborate. Maybe I missed your point. But as far as India having to hit leadoff, I mean, don't we think we're overreacting a little bit on that? Don't you think? I mean, I get the concept that India wasn't able to drive the run in today, but TJ Friedel's getting on base. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, he's one of the bright spots of this team, if not the biggest bright spot of this team. Reed Mouse is strolling in the chat, which is a great time to remind you that the Cubs and the Reds do play this weekend. And the good thing is the Cubs aren't very good, so we have a chance to win. You play against teams that are really good, the Yankees, those top echelon teams, probably aren't going to win. You play against Cubs, got a good chance of winning. This is a frustrating game, man. Like I said before, I said last night, if this Reds team could get lucky, and I mean lucky, if they could have gotten lucky and just won through Memorial Day, which would mean you have to sweep the Cubs, which I don't know if that's really that tall of a task. But you got to win games like today. Luke Weaver goes out there, and he finds a way to throw scoreless baseball through 6 1/3 frames. Lucas Sims comes in, he shuts the door down, and now it gets a little hairy because I had to jump into a meeting at the end. This offense sucks. I don't know how else to say it. This team has holes, and you know they have holes. Stuart Fairchild is Stuart Fairchild. If Stuart Fairchild played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Colorado Rockies, I don't know, the Texas Rangers, he would come up to the plate. They would show his stat line at the bottom of the screen when he comes up to the plate, and immediately you would think to yourself, thank God he's up. I like his stat line. Friedel gets on base 4 times. 4 times. Now, I know one of them was an error. McClain gets a hit. India gets a hit. Fraley's been a guy that we could count on. He didn't come through in the clutch today. Stevenson, we thought he was back. He couldn't come up with anything. Couldn't get on base today. Steer continues to be a bright spot. Senzel's cooled off. Stuart Fairchild. And Malley's Malley. Where are we at, chat? I don't know what there is to do about this team other than just say it's a part of who we are. It's a part of who we are. We talk about how we need to find spots for all these guys, like they can hit. Like, what are we going to do with Senzel, and what are we going to do with Barrero, and what are we going to do when Ellie De La Cruz comes up? Where's Spencer Steer going to play? Then where's Tyler Stevenson go? And it's like, I don't know, but there's a lot of spots I can find guys if they can hit just a little bit better than what we have. Do we really think that our DH our designated hitter this year is all that even remotely impressive to a certain extent. If Tyler Stevenson can't catch, this team, we're to the point now where Tyler Stevenson has to catch, guys. And you know what? Malley today couldn't block. I mean, he couldn't block either. And you know what? I know Lucas Sims' breaking ball is tough. I know it is. But no excuses, man. Am I being too hard on our catchers? Am I thinking too highly of our catchers and thinking that these balls that they're not blocking, that are being scored a wild pitch? And there was a big wild pitch today, right? Allowed a guy to move up, base hit, scores him from second. Probably wasn't going to score from first. Maybe I should put a poll up in the chat. I don't know where to go here because I don't know. Maybe I am being too hard on Malley. I don't know. But we need to block a damn baseball when it matters a lot. Somebody does. Or I just need to come to the realization that this team's not as good as I'd hoped it was going to be. And that's probably the damning truth. I don't miss Tucker Barnhart either. You know, for those that are going to sit there in the chat, or I know Evan said he doesn't miss him, but there's going to be people that bring up Tucker Barnhart. I think Tucker Barnhart's a great person. Probably did a lot of great things in this city, but I don't miss Tucker Barnhart. So I'm just asking for somebody that can block meaningful baseballs. And you know what? Maybe I did take Tucker Barnhart maybe for too much for granted, perhaps in that position. But we are in a spot now as Reds fans where I think when you look back at today's game, you have to be impressed. You have to be thankful that Luke Weaver threw as well as he did. And then on top of that, I think that we have to sit there and we need to figure out what is it with this offense that seems to be not clicking from time to time. And is it just the fact that we don't have good enough players? I don't know what David Bell's supposed to do. I know people want to rip on him, and I don't like David Bell as much as the next guy, to be quite frank. You know, he's probably mumbling in his interview right now, talking about how they competed and they played hard, and they're going to get him tomorrow in Chicago. That's probably what he's doing. But I don't really know what he's supposed to do. As crazy as this sounds, and I know you're about to think. I don't know if I should say it because then someone's going to clip it up and they're going to think. But if you're going to not play Kevin Newman, of all the times to not play Kevin Newman, today's probably the day that I would say you should play Kevin Newman. So I know I'm like, don't ever play Kevin Newman, and now I'm saying play Kevin Newman. But Kevin Newman at least was, hell, he was on a heater. I think Kevin Newman this past week got more hits than he'd had in the last month. And we're going to give him a day off, probably because he needs a rest. I don't know. I do know this. Reed Mouse is obviously a very loyal and passionate Cubs fan. The only difference between Reed and me is that I had somewhat realistic expectations coming into this year where I knew that the Reds were probably not going to be very good. Reed's in the chat. Congratulations to him. The Cubs suck too, so it's just like, okay, well, we both get to pick in the middle of the middle of the draft, and we both get to watch playoff baseball together. But as far as this upcoming series goes, hopefully Hunter Green continues to find a way to prove his doubters wrong. Ashcraft's got to find a way to get back on track. Although I don't know if Ashcraft's scheduled to start off the top of my head right now. But any other questions, comments, concerns from the chat before I decide to break? These midday games are a little more difficult to do than the night games for a multitude of reasons. However, I just watched about 7.5 innings of baseball. I missed the last inning and a half, and I got to see the bottom of the ninth. Is it just base running? Is that really what did us in? What's the most frustrating thing that you've seen today? I'm going to put it as a poll right now. Ready? We're going to make a nice little poll is what we say. Ready? What was the worst part of the game? Ready? What do we think it should be? Base running? This computer's running slower than Moses right now. I don't know if Moses ran fast or slow, but if he ran slow, then that means that's what I'm talking about. We got base running. We're going to say firepower or offensive firepower. How about that? And come on. Catching. All right. Well, I already know what's going to win this poll, but I want to run it anyways. Here we go. All right, guys. I got one nice thing to say about the Cubs. They play in a fun city. If you've not been to Chicago, which most people probably have, but if you've not been to Chicago and you got a free weekend and you got a little bit of coin in your back pocket, go up there and watch the Reds play at Wrigley Field. That's kind of neat. About a 5-hour drive from Cincinnati. Not too bad. I see people saying Chicago stinks. I don't think it actually does. I think their baseball team's not very good. Both of them, to be exact. But I actually do enjoy Chicago. Only in the summers, though. The winter, I've been there a few times. It's pretty bad news. Oddly enough, offensive firepower is out to a quick lead. And I got news for you. There's nobody that could help us in that area. You know, that's the bad news. I hate to break it to you, but there's nobody in AAA that hits the absolute shit out of the ball. Nobody. I mean, it's not like this team needs any help. Certainly not on the offensive end. I know Nick's not here. I can't beat a dead horse. But I just don't understand what Christian Encarnacion Strand has to do to come up. I don't. I just don't know. Right now, the poll sits at 79% offensive firepower, 21% for base running and catching. Oddly enough, Luke Malley must be paying people off, 0%. Evan, good point. We can't rush our prospects. This is very true. I feel like I'm that. What's that guy that's on Home Improvement? Is that what that show was called? Chat. What was that show called? Tell me. Tell me in the chat. You guys got what I'm talking about. Who's the guy in Home Improvement that looked like he was always peeking over the fence? Was that even Home Improvement, by the way? Maybe not. I'm not sure. Do you know, Casey?
I think it's Home Improvement.
Wilson. Bam. Wilson. Thank you. Okay. I have a good amount of things that I have to get done today. I'm sure many of you do too. I'm kind of pissed. Not a good time to be talking into a microphone when you're mad I am, because we've been begging our starting pitchers, begging them for weeks, maybe a month, to stop stressing this bullpen out. Stop asking the bullpen to go 5, 6, 7 innings. And what did Luke Weaver do in his Jordan shoes? Cleats. He went out, he threw 6 1/3. Let me see if I can pull a stat lineup. I know I can. Let me pull a stat lineup. This is where Nick comes into play. He's just more prepared than I am. Casey had it up for me earlier. Here we go. All right. Luke Weaver, 6 1/3 innings, 3-hit baseball, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Threw 86 pitches, 60 of them for strikes. So, Lucas Sims comes in. Unfortunately, he gets the loss through 1 2/3 innings, gave up 2 hits, 2 earned runs, walked 2 guys, which is probably the thing that bit him the most. 2 strikeouts. But this isn't about pitching. This is not about pitching. Spencer Steer, oddly enough, got dropped in the batting order, but he's been on a heater since he got dropped. Now, Nick would tell you that's why he's been getting hits, is because they dropped him in the batting order. I usually don't like putting my best hitters at the bottom of the lineup. But I don't think the lineup even is the reason as to why we lost today. I think it's just largely because I know you're going to disagree with me, and I think many of you do. I think it's because the combination of a few things. Not getting the timely hit, but more importantly, we ran ourselves out of an inning. That was very important. That 1st and 3rd where Frieda was on 3rd, Stevenson, I believe, was on 1st. I don't know who was on 1st. Don't hold me to this, chat. But nonetheless, we go on contact. We get thrown out at the plate. That's just such bad baseball. But tomorrow is a new day. So here's the plans for tomorrow. It is another day game. I am going to make sure that I'm at my home studio for tomorrow. I'm going to take calls. We're going to do calls. I got to figure out what phone I'm going to take home tonight so none of you get my real phone number. Because the last thing I need is who's your daddy having my phone number. But I'm going to get a phone number. We're going to put it on the screen. You guys can call in and we can make fun of Reed's Cubs. That's what we're going to do because they are terrible. Imagine being a Cubs fan and thinking that you have a chance to play meaningful baseball this year. It's actually admirable. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that 8-year-old kid that's playing t-ball or coach pitch. Can't tie his shoes and blow a bubble with gum at the same time. Hell, can't even chew and tie his shoes at the same time probably. And they're telling you how they're going to make the major leagues. You don't have the heart to tell them because they're only 8 that they're probably not going to make the major leagues. So you just kind of go with the flow. That's what I do here at the office every day. Reed's just excited. He's looking at Baseball Reference. He's checking out the Cubs in the standings. He's excited. He's like, oh, they play tonight. I'm going to go home and watch them. And you know what? By all God, I love that. But I also know they suck. And the Reds suck too, so it'll make for a great series. So we'll have fun tomorrow, better than ever. I'm sorry that we're not in our usual situation. But tomorrow I hope to be. And I am going to crack a Miller Lite in honor of the north side of Chicago. So until then, take care, everybody. Much love to you. See ya.